Welcome to my latest 2023 NFL preview video. Today I'm breaking down the NFC champion Philadelphia Eagles. Here's how my preview videos work. I start off with 3 things I like about the Eagles, followed by 3 things I don't like. Then we go over to yearly win total odds, break down the schedule, and at the very end I give you my betting recommendation on the Eagles. Let's start off with the first thing I like about Philadelphia Eagles. The first thing I like about the Eagles is their defensive line. The Eagles led the NFL with 70 sacks last year, largely due to this fantastic defensive line. I know Hassan Reddick is listed as a linebacker, but I really consider him more of an edge rusher. Last year, this team became the first team in NFL history to have 4 players with double digits in sacks. Even though one of those guys left in free agency, they have drafted suitable replacements, something I'll get to shortly. This defensive line can and will rotate 8 players, and all 8 of them are extremely dangerous. Now, this list does include Derek Barnett, who has been mentioned in trade talks, but as I am making this video, is still on the team. The second thing I like about the Eagles is the skill position talent. The Eagles lost Miles Sanders in free agency, but added former first-round picks Rashad Penny and DeAndre Swift, and they still have Boston Scott and Kenneth Gainwell. Penny's only issue is staying healthy, while Swift I never thought was used properly in Detroit. These two complement each other perfectly and will cost less than half of what Carolina is paying Miles Sanders in 2023. On the outside, Smith and Brown is as good of a duo as you will get. Smith led the team with 95 receptions and Brown led the team with 1,496 yards. Only Miami's duo of Hill and Waddle had more yards than Smith and Brown. Dallas Goedert only played 12 games, but went for 55 receptions, 702 yards, and 3 touchdowns in just those 12 games. If he stayed healthy, he would have most likely went over 1,000 yards receiving himself. I haven't even mentioned Jalen Hurts, who for most of the season was NFL MVP. If he played in those late season games, he might have won MVP. This offseason, the Eagles wisely signed him to a 5-year deal, which leads me to the third thing I like about the Eagles, and that is their front office. This offseason, the Eagles not only signed Jalen Hurts, but future Hall of Famers Jason Kelce and Fletcher Cox to 1-year deals, all the while having their replacements already in line. Cam Jurgens will play guard, and Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter will rotate in for Cox at various times during the 2023 season. In my opinion, no team had a better draft, and few teams are set up for a better future than the Eagles. I'm not saying this team is perfect, but going into 2023, this team doesn't have any weaknesses and is in perfect shape to repeat as NFC champions again. To recap the 3 things I like about the Eagles: their defensive line, the offensive skill position talent, and front office, including another amazing draft. Before I reveal the 3 things I don't like about the Eagles, make sure you smash that like button. And if this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out tremendously when you subscribe to the channel. Now, 3 things about the Eagles I don't like. The first thing I don't like about the Eagles is that they play in the brutal NFC East. Even though they had the NFC's best record, they were the last team to clinch their division. Dallas and New York also went to the playoffs last year, and even last place Washington didn't have a losing record. I can make a strong case for all 3 of the other NFC East teams being better in 2023, so Philly needs to bring their A game to repeat as NFC East champions, something that hasn't happened since the Eagles last did it in 2003-2004. The second thing I don't like about the Eagles is their coaching losses this offseason. No other team lost both coordinators to take head coaching positions elsewhere. When a coordinator takes a head coaching job, he takes assistant coaches with him. The Eagles won't replace just the coordinators, they have to replace position coaches that left as well. While I like who the Eagles brought in, it's still an adjustment and something no other NFL team will deal with in 2023. The third thing I don't like about the Eagles is their schedule. I'm going to go into detail shortly regarding the schedule, but going just from 2022, no team has a more difficult schedule than the Eagles. They travel to New England, New York to play the Jets, Kansas City, and Seattle, while they host Minnesota, Miami, Buffalo, and San Francisco. Plus the already mentioned difficult NFC East. It's highly unlikely the Eagles will go 14-3 again this year with this schedule. To recap the 3 things I don't like about the Eagles: the brutal NFC East, the coaching losses, and what I believe is the NFL's most difficult schedule. Now let's look at the yearly win total odds. The magic number for the Eagles is 11.5 wins, with good numbers for both both the over and the under. If you don't understand what I'm talking about, you can check out my yearly win totals tutorial video listed here. Now let's take a look at the Eagles schedule. I'm going to break this down into sections starting with the first 5 games of the season. I firmly believe this is the easiest part of the Eagles schedule, and it's important for Philly to start fast. Week 1 in New England is not going to be easy, but I do like starting the season on Thursday night at home hosting Minnesota. Spoiler alert, I like the Eagles to win that game. You get a few days rest advantage before you travel to Tampa for a fun Monday night game, and week 4 you host Washington. Now remember, last year Washington came to Philly and handed them their first loss, so this is not a cakewalk, and then you travel to LA for week 5. I firmly believe the Eagles can start the season 4-1, or worst case scenario 3-2. The next 4 games on the schedule are very difficult. You're on the road to play the Jets after you travel to LA. You get a home game versus Miami, Washington again this time but on the road, and Dallas week 9 at home. I think you could easily go 3-1, but for fun let's go 2-2, and you approach the bye at either 6-3 or 7-2. I'm looking at it at 6-3, but you could easily be 7-2 at this mark. Both Kansas City and Philadelphia have week 10 byes, so no rest advantage there. After the bye is a very fun Monday night rematch of the Super Bowl, followed by 2 very tough home games, followed by 2 very difficult road games. Realistically, the Eagles could go anywhere from 1-4 to 3-2 here. Let's just for fun say 2-3, taking the Eagles to an 8-6 mark, or possibly 9-5 at this point. Division games are never easy, but if you're fighting for division or home field advantage, I firmly believe the Eagles could win all 3 of these games. In case you didn't notice, I kind of went worst case scenario with the Eagles schedule, giving them 11, maybe 12 wins total. If you remember, the yearly win total odds are 11.5, and that's exactly where I have the Eagles at. My betting recommendation is to not bet on the Eagles at all, but if I have to, I'd lean towards the under. I could easily go 12 wins, but I got to 11 with the Eagles winning the last 3 games of the schedule, and all NFC East opponents are never a gimme. You can check out all 32 teams previewed on my 2023 NFL Previews playlist. Tomorrow will be my NFL Week 1 picks, so I hope to see you back tomorrow.